2, and I'll ask us to participate in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Okay, Jeanette, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Village of Addison.
Here.
Arlington Heights.
Here.
Bartlett. Bentonville.
Here.
Bloomingdale. City of Chicago.
Here.
City of Chicago 36th Ward.
Here.
38th Ward.
Here.
39.
Here.
40. Here. 41.
Here.
45. Cook County. Des Plaines. Downers Grove. DuPage County. Elmhurst.
Here.
Elmwood Park.
Here.
Franklin Park.
Here.
Glenview.
Here.
Hanover Park.
Here.
Harwood Heights.
Here.
Hoffman Estates. Itasca. Lincolnwood.
Here.
Melrose Park. Mount Prospect.
Here.
Niles. Norwich.
Here.
Northlake.
Here.
Palatine.
Here.
Park Ridge.
Here.
Here.
River Forest.
Here.
River Grove.
Here.
Rolling Meadows.
Here.
Rosemont.
Here.
Schaumburg.
Here.
Schiller Park.
Here.
South Barrington.
Here.
St. Charles. Stone Park.
Here.
Wayne. Wooddale.
Here.
School District 2. 7.
Here.
48.
This California County.
Present.
That's when some specialists at
Here.
UCLA
9.
could
63. 64.
Here.
80. 81.
Here.
84. 84 and a half. 85 and a half. 86. 87. 88. 89.
Here.
100.
Here.
205. 214.
Here.
299. 234.
Here.
And 401. We have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So this morning, this is our annual meeting. We've moved it to the May meeting, and typically we publish and print our annual report and distribute it to all the members. This year, in keeping with our online presence and desire to be somewhat economical, we haven't printed the report, but it's available in its entirety on our website. And I believe it was distributed to all our members via email. I really encourage you to take a look at it. In lieu of a long speech today, my annual report and opening remarks are in that publication. And I hope that you will take advantage of looking at it. It's also got data provided by the Chicago Department of Aviation. And it's a beautiful summary, I think, of what we did over the last year. So thank you, Jeanette, for putting that together. I'll reserve any additional remarks until after the next agenda item, which is a proclamation. And I'll turn the floor over to Joe Annunzio to do that.
Okay, is the proclamation showing? Will you show it, Jeanette? All right, at our executive board meeting last Monday, we presented Mayor Arlene Ursak this proclamation. It was a good meeting, and it was in person. I wanted to thank Jeanette for arranging the meeting. Personally, that was the first personal meeting I was at in over a year, and it was pretty exciting for me. I would like to wish Arlene all the best as she retires from public service and steps down from her leadership role as ONCC. There it is. Thank you. Thank you, Arlene, for your integrity, your honesty, and your unwavering trust in our ability to lead the various community. Arlene, you've given this organization a shot in the arm that it really needed. And I want to personally thank you, and I hope everybody else personally thanks you when they get a chance.
Joe, were you going to read it? I think I had suggested not because it's so darn long.
You said that before. That's why I'm kind of hesitant. I'd love to read it if you want me to. Whatever.
Yes, okay. It is quite long, and I appreciate that it documents a lot of events and facts that have occurred over my tenure here at the O'Hare Noise Commission. They did present me at the executive board with a beautiful version. Instead of a brass plaque on wood, it's a really nice acrylic piece that can be mounted kind of like a museum piece on a wall. So I'm going to have to find an appropriate place to put it. I just really wanted to thank everyone for the opportunity to serve all our communities in the O'Hare region in the fashion that I did. My allegiance to the O'Hare Noise Commission really started back at its inception. I happened to be fortunate enough to be sitting on our village board in 96 and 97 when the votes were taken, whether we should join ONCC or SAC. And Skip Farley was the mayor. Arlene Mulder, the mayor of Arlington Heights at that time, were among the founding members. And we know that Arlene led the organization for the bulk of its years since its inception. One of the things that I adopted as my style of leadership is that we were going to form a consensus, and that any decisions, especially major decisions like Black Quiet, weren't going to be an unilateral edict from the city of Chicago or from me, but were going to be developed by consensus of a working group. We weren't going to pit each other against each other. I think I saw since 96, 97, all the millions of dollars that had been spent in litigation. Some would say needlessly, some would say to useful ends. But none of us are in a position to be litigating against each other, but we need a solution that we could all agree on. So I thank everybody for going along with that philosophy, and in particular, the people on the Fly Quiet Committee and those who are not on the committee, but who have chosen to provide input to that committee. It really gives a stronger position for our proposal because it shows that we all participated in the give and take, and I really appreciate that. Of course, we couldn't have done this without people like Ginger Evans, who really did a lot. You know, she came in after Rosie Andolino. Rosie did an awful lot during the early years, but Ginger came in at an important time when OMP was already underway. And she was the one who indicated professional, technical, and an aviation industry with the direction that we were headed on rotation plans. So Ginger really set a stage of legitimacy for the work that we were doing. Jamie Ree, you have continued that. It's been awesome. The other thing that we have had through the years is a professional, respectful, and still appropriately from an ethical standpoint relationship with the FAA. Barry Cooper, who was our regional administrator for so long, really set the tone of our partnership. And Rebecca McPherson, you and your staff, who have been faithfully participating in all of this, with the best of professional intentions and cooperation. It has been awesome. We couldn't do this without you. CDA, Aaron, you and your team, Landrum and Brown, the team from that group. It has just been, again, the words I can use are professional and respectful. We're doing things based on fact, not emotion, taking into account the real psychological as well as physical impact of the noise that we're all exposed to. So I really thank them. I thank Joe, Karen, and Ray Cooper. You're going to be continuing on the leadership of this organization in the style in which you have already done it. And I think I can leave with great comfort knowing that it's in great hands. And of course, Jeanette as our executive director. You keep us going on a day-to-day basis. You answer resident concerns. You make sure that the sound insulation program is moving along, along with Aaron. You filter everything to Aaron that belongs to Aaron's plate. You make sure all the committees are meeting. Evan, I want to thank you for taking over the technical committee. It's just been awesome. But Jeanette, you're herding all the cats, keeping us informed and doing a lot of the legwork to make sure that we get the kind of speakers that we expect as well. I want to thank Fran Guzio and Maura El-Metanani, who are part of our communications team, for assisting with that. And then finally, again, I close by thanking each of you. Thank you for respecting my leadership and each other. I think this has been one of the most rewarding aspects of my tenure as mayor in the village. We've done amazing things in the village of Mount Prospect, but I feel particularly proud of this effort as well. So thank you all very much. I see some congratulatory messages popping up on chat. Thank you. I really, truly appreciate it. And I can still hear the planes over my house at Mount Prospect, so I'm under the flight path, and I'll continue to keep an ear out for what's going on. So with that, I'd like to move us along in the agenda to the report of the Ad Hoc Nominating Committee and turn the floor over to Mayor Jeffrey Sherwin.
Okay. The nominating committee met on March 4th and April 27th to review, discuss, and nominate recommended candidates for the 2021 slate of officers. I received a nomination of Joe Annunzio to serve as chair. The recommendation for vice chair is Karen Robles and Dr. Raymond Cooper as treasurer. On behalf of the commission, I'd like to thank my fellow nominating committee members, John Kunkel of Hanover Park, Brian Gazer of Norwich, Peter Bialik of Chicago's 39th Ward. So before I continue, ad hoc nominating committee members, would one of you please move and second the motion to approve the April 27th meetings?
Brian from Norwich would make a motion to approve the minutes.
John from Hanover Park will second them.
Okay, all in favor on the committee? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I didn't call roll. I think, Jeanette, you got it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I think Open Meetings Act says you gotta do it by roll. Correct, Arlene?
Yeah, I think because we're doing video, you will need to do a roll call vote on that.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. Hanover Park,
Yes. Here.
Norwich,
Yes.
39th Ward,
Yes.
North Lake, yes. Okay. Okay, resolution 2021, which was emailed to you earlier this week, recommends the following slate of officers for chair, vice chair, and treasurer. Joe Annunzio as chair, Karen Robles as vice chair, and Ray Cooper as treasurer. The resolution requires a motion, a second, and a roll call vote to confirm the selection of the new officers. So is there a motion and a second for resolution R-2021-1?
I'll move.
Brian.
So Dennis Ryan, River Grove.
Seconded by Brian from Norwich.
Okay, Jeanette, can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Village of Addison,
Yes.
Arlington Heights,
Yes.
Bartlett, Bensonville,
Yes.
Bloomingdale, City of Chicago,
Yes.
City of Chicago 36th Ward,
Yes.
38th Ward,
Yes.
39th Ward,
Yes.
40th,
Yes.
41st,
Yes.
Des Plaines, Downers Grove, DuPage County, Elmhurst,
Yes.
Elmwood Park,
Yes.
Franklin Park,
Yes.
Glenview,
Yes.
Hanover Park,
Yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes.
Hoffman Estates, Lincolnwood, Melrose Park,
Lincolnwood says yes.
Mount Prospect,
Yes.
Niles,
Yes.
Norwich,
Yes.
Northlake,
Yes.
Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes.
River Forest, River Grove,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yes.
Rosemont,
Yes.
Schaumburg,
Yes.
Schiller Park,
Yes.
South Barrington,
Yes.
St. Charles, Stone Park,
Yes.
Wayne, Wooddale,
Yes.
School District 2, 7,
Yes.
48,
Yes.
59, 63, 64,
Yes.
80, 81,
Yes.
84, 84 and a half, 85 and a half, 86,
Yes.
87,
Yes.
88, 89,
Yes.
100,
Yes.
205, 207,
Yes.
214,
Yes.
290, 234,
Yes.
and 401. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, and that.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Joe, Karen, and Ray. And I turn the virtual gavel over to Joe. It's all yours.
Okay.
Got it. Before I start my remarks, like I have to say that my dad taught me that you never have a job until you get the first check. And I think I just got my first check just now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'd like to thank Mayor Sherwin, the nominating committee, and ONCC members. Many of us here today are assuming new leadership roles because both Mayor Jurasek, Mayor Sherwin, and Sherwin understood the importance of succession planning and amending the ONCC bylaws and CDA. Their insight enabled ONCC to evolve and allowed designees to hold leadership positions that normally would have only been held by elected officials. I believe that was a good change for ONCC. I want to congratulate Karen Robles, who will not only serve as vice chair of ONCC, but will also chair the Fly Quiet Committee. I want to thank Dr. Raymond Cooper for agreeing to stay on another year and serve as ONCC treasurer and School Sound Installation Committee chair. Special thanks to our committee chairs and vice chairs, Evan Summers and Dennis Ryan, that were on the technical committee. Ralph Sorcy, Brian Gesser, Residential Sound Installation Committee, Dr. Jennifer Casal, Vice Chair of School Sound Installation Committee. I appreciate your time and effort to carry on the work that lies ahead for ONCC, and promise not to micromanage. Well, maybe once in a while, you never know. No, I'm kidding. I appreciate your time, your effort to carry on the work that lies ahead for ONCC, and I promise not to micromanage. I really do. I especially look forward to working with the executive director, Jeanette Camacho, who will most definitely lead the way. My goal as new ONCC chair will be to continue the efforts put forth by my two predecessors, who established a successful philosophy to work cooperatively and collaboratively among the many members of the commission, CDA and FAA. Under my tenure, I want to ensure that Fly Quiet 21 runway rotation program becomes a reality to balance nighttime noise with the O'Hare region once the ONP is completed. And finally, I want to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the ONCC and lay the groundwork for the next 25 years as O'Hare and ONCC work together to mitigate airport noise. I guess that closes our annual meeting, and I'd like an approval for the March 5th, 2021 ONCC minutes.
I'll move so, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Call the roll.
Addison,
Yes.
Arlington Heights,
Yes.
Bartlett, Bensenville,
Yes.
Bloomingdale, City of Chicago,
Yes.
City of Chicago 36th Ward,
Yes.
38th Ward,
Yes.
39th Ward,
Yes.
40th Ward,
Yes.
41st Ward, Cook County, Des Plaines, Downers Grove, DuPage County,
Yes.
Elmhurst,
Yes.
Elmwood Park,
Yes.
Franklin Park,
Yes.
Glenview,
Yes.
Hanover Park,
Yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes.
Hoffman Estates, Lincolnwood,
Yes.
Mount Prospect,
Yes.
Niles,
Yes.
Norwich,
Yes.
Northlake,
Yes.
Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes.
River Forest,
Yes.
River Grove,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yes.
Rosemont,
Yes.
Schaumburg,
Yes.
Schiller Park,
Yes.
South Barrington,
Yes.
Stone Park, Wayne, Wooddale,
Yes.
School District 2, 7,
Yes.
48,
Yes.
59, 63, 64,
Yes.
81,
Yes.
89,
Yes.
100,
Yes.
207, 214,
Yes.
234,
Yes.
and 401. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda is report of the March 5th, 2021 ONCC, report of the City of Chicago Department of Aviation. There are two reports from the city this morning. Aaron, would you please begin?
Morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Mr. Chairman, we have three reports this morning. We have two monthly noise reports. Those are for February and March. And then we also have a quick overview for the full commission regarding the final results of the interim Fly Quiet report. And for all three of those, I'm going to ask Ryan Anderson of Landrum & Brown to present them for you. Ryan.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Chair, would you prefer that I go over both February and March, or just the March report, which contains data for both months?
Just go over the one report, yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone should hopefully see the report for the airport noise management system for the month of March 2021. Pages 1 through 3 provides highlights and overview of for the month. On page 1, we have our aircraft operations summary report based on the FAA's air traffic activity data system. We've updated that for the month of March 2021, where we saw 46,826 operations. Now that's up significantly from February and January of this year. However, we're still down compared to March levels that we saw in 2020, pre-pandemic levels there. But we did see a nice increase in operations based on the spring travel season. So we're continuing to see strong bookings and operation levels going into the summer months as we continue the recovery from the impacts of the pandemic. Total operations for 2021 are now at 122,116. Top of page 2 is our wind summary. On the upper right corner, you'll see our instances of wind for the month of March. Again, wind is one of the key factors influencing runway use and operation. As you can see, for the month of March, we saw a significant amount of wind occurrences coming from the south and southwest. Those are tend to be seasonal winds in the spring, where we see a lot of winds out of the south and the north. This resulted in the airport operating in a bit of a split: west flow, east flow, 55% west flow and 45% east flow. However, those wind conditions coming from the south and the northeast did result in the airport using the crosswind runways 4 right, 22 left more often than normal. We did talk about that in detail at the last technical committee meeting. But the west flow, east flow, 55%, 45% resulted in our most used departure runway being 28 right, with 36% utilization for the month, and 28 center for the most arrivals utilization for the month at 26%. Page 3, the bottom of page 3 is a update on the number of aircraft noise complaints for the month of March. For March, we saw 20,017 total complaints from verifiable households. This is up almost double than it was in February. Obviously, with the spring travel season, we saw an increase in operations, as well as people starting to open their windows as the weather gets nicer. So we expect to see noise complaints correlate with both warmer weather as well as increased operations. Total complaints for 2021 so far, 46,056. We'll go into more details on the noise complaints with the noise complaint report. Page 4 is our aircraft fleet mix report for March. The aircraft fleet mix report details all of the different types of aircraft that operate in and out of O'Hare, and we break that up into 3 groups: regional aircraft, narrow body, and wide body aircraft types. For March, we saw regional aircraft representing just over 50% of the aircraft types operating at O'Hare. Narrow body was 34.6%, and wide body was 13.5%. We had a total average operations per day of 1,404, and 8% of that operated during the nighttime hours of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Page 5 is our runway use report for daytime between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. The runway use report shows our average daily departures and arrivals for each runway end, as well as the percent utilizations in a bar graph, as well as arrow diagram. As you can see on the bottom with the arrow diagram, runways 10 left, 28 right was the workhorse when it came to departures for the month of March. We had 37% departures in west flow, as well as 26% of the departures in east flow. It's important to note, runway 9 center, 27 center, as you all remember, was commissioned in November of last year, but didn't see significant operations commence until February of this year. And so for February and March, we have been seeing that runway being used primarily for departures in east flow. You'll see in the departure diagram here, 14% of the departures occurred on runway 9 center. And then on the arrival side, that runway was used for arrivals in west flow. You'll see 14% on runway 27 center being used for arrivals. The other workhorse pavement for the month of March was runway 10 center, 28 center. You can see it carried majority of arrivals in both west flow and east flow, with 24% in west flow and 24% in east flow. Runway 9 left, 27 right, also utilized in both west flow and east flow. Page 6 is our runway use report for the nighttime hours between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. This report shows the utilization again during those hours. Now, this is not during IFQ. We'll talk about that more as we talk about the interim flight quiet report, but IFQ ended at the end of January. So this is traditional flight quiet. As you can see, and during the nighttime hours, again, runway 10 left, 28 right was the predominant runway for departures. 33% in west flow and 35% in east flow. On the arrival side, again, 10 center, 28 center was the predominant runway for arrivals, 40% in west flow and 38% in east flow. Runway 9 right, 27 left, traditionally used as an arrival runway during the nighttime hours. It is designated as one of the preferential nighttime runways. But a reminder that that runway has been closed for construction of the extension. So that runway has been closed since February. And the majority of arrival operations that we would typically see on that runway have been going to 28 center and 27 center. That runway is expected, that extension is expected to be completed by the end of this year and will complete the O'Hare Modernization Program airfield construction project. And so we'll have a full modernized airfield at the end of this year with the completion of that project. Page 7, 8, and 9 are our permanent noise monitor reports. Page 7 is the geographical location of the 36 permanent noise monitors around O'Hare. Page 8 is the aircraft noise report for our first 17 noise monitors, where we report the aircraft DNL values for each monitor, as well as the previous 12 months, and comparing that to the same month of the previous year. So as you can see, for March of 2021, we have our aircraft DNL values for the monitors color-coded by green, black, or red. Green represents a decrease of 1 decibel or more from the same month of the previous year. So you can see that majority of the noise monitors were at or below the levels that we saw in March of 2020. That, of course, is because of the historically low operation levels that we saw over the past year due to the COVID pandemic. However, I expect these numbers to start to change, especially as we go into the months of April and May.
Ryan Anderson, can you hear us? We cannot hear you.
I lost you, Ryan. Ryan? Yeah, froze up. We'll give Ryan a minute, see if he can get his computer back going. And if not, Aaron, can you finish up what he was doing?
Yes, Chairman.
Well, as long as we're waiting for Ryan, Jeffrey Mermoys from Wooddale has a question. Maybe Aaron, you could answer it.
Sure, yes, thank you. Obviously.
Sorry, I apologize. Can everyone see me now?
Ryan, we started something else. Let him ask the question and then you can continue, okay?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm attending obviously on behalf of Mayor Police today. He wanted me to ask a question specifically about pages 5 and 6 of the report we're reviewing and the distribution percentages on the 10 runways compared to the 9 runways. And he was wondering if he can get a timeline on when we could better expect a slightly more even distribution from the southern to the northern. He understands that obviously one just opened and one isn't fully online yet, but he's questioning the percentage distribution.
Ryan, can you answer that?
Sure. If yeah, we can provide a response based on the projected use of those runways moving forward.
Yeah, if you guys can just email me or Mayor Police, that would be great.
Yes, we'll get that to Jeanette and make sure that gets distributed to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. You can finish your report now.
Okay, let me apologize. We're having some network connectivity issues here. Let me just pull that back up for you.
Ryan, do you need me to pull it up?
Nope, I got it. Thank you. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Apologies. Again, the noise report for March 2021, page 8. Moving on to page 9 is the remainder of our noise monitors for the month of March, showing aircraft DNL values, current as well as comparing to March of 2020. As you can see, we did see one monitor show an increase in Wooddale with 67.2. Primarily due to, as I was going over the runway use reports, runway 10 left, 28 right, and runway 10 center, 28 center. That runway was being heavily used in the month of March, both for departures on runway 28 right and arrivals on runway 10 center. Wooddale did see an increase in noise, and so did the other monitors in Bensonville, Wooddale, and Itasca. However, that particular monitor saw an increase over March of 2020. Page 10 is our noise complaint report for March 2021. The noise complaint report shows the number of verifiable households that made complaints during the reporting month, as well as the previous 2 months. So you can see the number of households that made complaints highlighted in red by each community, as well as the number of households for February and January of 2021, as well as the total number of complaints those households made for the month of March. We did see almost double the amount of complaints, as I mentioned earlier. We had a total number of households of 365 making complaints in the month of March versus 167 in February. Obviously, as I mentioned, we saw an increase in operation levels for the month of March, as well as the warmer weather. As a result, we did see an increase in noise complaints. Some of the communities that we did see significant increases on were the city of Chicago. You can see 92 households making complaints, Park Ridge, 58 households, as well as Wooddale, 41 households making noise complaints. On the far right, you'll see our method of complaint, nature of complaint, and time of complaint. For the month of March, by far, again, the website is the preferred method for making noise complaints with 98.5%. The nature of complaint, 86.8% was aircraft noise, and the time complaint, again, that typical 80-20 split that we see, 80% daytime and 19% nighttime. Page 11 depicts the geographical location of the complaints by household. You can see the spread of the blue dots representing all the verifiable households that made those complaints in March 2021. No surprises here. Again, as I mentioned, we had a close to even split of west flow, east flow, so we can see distribution of dots on both sides of the airport. You will see a bit of a concentration on the southwest side, Bensonville, Wooddale, Itasca, again, runway 10 center arrivals and 28 right departures, as well as new runway 9 center, 27 center. You can see some pockets there of new areas of complainants in relation to the opening of that runway. So we expected to see some new complaints as a result of operations starting to be used on that particular runway. But no surprises for the month of March 2021. And that completes the report for March 2021.
Thank you. Next, we have Aaron, do you have a report?
Chairman, we're going to go ahead with the interim flight quiet report. So Ryan's going to continue.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, let me just pull that up for you. Okay. So as I mentioned, the interim flight quiet runaway rotation program ended in the at the end of January of this year. We gave a full report to the flight quiet committee, but we wanted to make sure we gave the same report to the full commission, just so that, a reminder of the program and the results as we move forward with planning for the new flight quiet program, the work being done in the flight quiet committee. A lot of this information contained in this report is useful, and we'll also be discussing it further in the flight quiet committee as well. And so I wanted to kind of go through this report in summary. As a reminder, the interim flight quiet program was developed in the flight quiet committee and approved by the full commission to be a temporary program with the goal of providing near-term relief to the and help reduce the impacts of the to the highest impacted communities nearby the airport, and provide a level of predictability with a schedule that allows people to get some prediction as to when they might expect certain runways to be used. As a reminder, the program began in November of 2019 and ran through the end of January of this year. We did have significant runway projects with runways 4 left, 2 right, and 4 right, 2 left during that period that required us to start and stop the program to allow for the construction activity. However, the program did run for the total 48 weeks during that time period. And we saw 47% of the operations occurring on the runways as scheduled during the full IFQ period. And we'll go into a little bit more detail in the reports that follow. Page 2, we've got an explanation of flight quiet mode, and I want to spend a little bit of time on this because it is very important that we all understand the concept of flight quiet mode, as it is a mode based on demand levels, not so much based on time of day. The FAA considers nighttime hours to be, as we've talked about frequently, between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. It is our goal for the any flight quiet program to occur between those hours, if not for the full 9 hours of nighttime. However, due to operational demands, that isn't always the case. And so operational demands, meaning the number of aircraft that are coming to or departing from O'Hare, require flight quiet mode to maybe start a little bit after 10 or before 7. So we tracked the flight quiet mode start and stop times for the entire IFQ period. And you can see in this chart in the middle with the blue arrows of all the start and stop times, we had an average start time of 10:32 p.m. and an average stop time of 6:16 a.m. The graph on the following page helps describe as to why we're not able to always start at exactly 10 and stop at exactly 7. And that is because of this arrival and departure demand. In the green line, you'll see that is our average departure operations during the overnight hours. And you can see that green line on the left side of the graph represent a much higher level of operation demand. As we get closer to the nighttime hours of 10, that demand comes down to a level where air traffic is able to transition the airport into flight quiet mode, meaning that we're able to depart off of 1 or 2 runways and utilize our preferential flight paths, as well as utilize 1 runway for arrivals. Now, on the right side of the graph, you'll see the red line representing the arrival demand, and that arrival peak that we see at 7 a.m. Really drives the need to stop the fly quiet or come out of fly quiet mode and open up more runways to allow for arrivals to meet that demand. And so we're not always able to keep fly quiet mode going all the way to 7 a.m., mostly driven by that arrival demand you'll see in that peak there with the red line. Interim flight quiet consisted of 6 runway configurations and represented in the boxes on the bottom of page 3 here. The IFQ went through a lot of deliberations in the Fly Quiet Committee. We also had 3 tests, tests 1, 2, and 3, leading up to the interim Fly Quiet program. If you're interested in how we came to these 6 particular runway configurations, there is a lot of information on the CDA's website and background material on the tests, as well as the work that occurred in the Fly Quiet Committee that led to these 6 runway configurations. But we have the 6 IFQ configurations are configurations H, I, K, L, M, and O. And these 6 were scheduled to rotate each week. Depending on each week, we would use one configuration or the other, as well as a secondary configuration if needed due to weather conditions. Page 4, the top of page 4 shows how those configurations, how well they were utilized. You can see configuration O was by far our most utilized runway configuration with 75%. H, I, M, and K, L being the least utilized runway configuration. If I go back, I'll show you. O is our departures on 28 right and arrivals on 28 center. That is a very typical daytime configuration, as I described in the ANOMS report previously. So it's very easy to stay into that configuration for air traffic rather than to transition to a new configuration that may require operational or wind conditions like L, which is a crosswind configuration, 4 left departures and 4 right arrivals. The bottom of page 4, we lay out some of the reasons why that other 53% were not able to occur on the runway configurations as scheduled. Some of the main reasons were operational requirements and inclement weather. And again, we operated IFQ during winter months, and some of those nights we had significant winter events that inhibited or restricted the airport from going into fly quiet mode. We also had operational requirements. Every night runways are required to be inspected. We also have aircraft operational needs. Not all aircraft are able to utilize the runways as scheduled, and we do require 2-hour advance notice if an aircraft needs to use a different runway, but those runways are made available to any aircraft that might need it. We also had parked aircraft in the critical area, and just a brief description for that. During the height of the impact of the pandemic last year, when our air carriers had to park a lot of the aircraft due to the significant drop-off in demand, there was a lot of aircraft parked around the airfield, and some of those were in areas that inhibited the use of some of our runways. And so unfortunately, we had so many aircraft parked that there was a runway that we weren't able to use all the time because of the parked aircraft. Page 5 shows our runway utilization for IFQ. Total arrivals was during the entire IFQ was 16,790. Total departures was 10,438 with an average of 51 arrivals and 31 departures every night. So operations nightly during flight quiet mode were 82. So there was a bit significant more arrivals than departures during IFQ during those flight quiet mode hours. The figure on the middle of the page is our tree map, and it shows, again, the runway utilization, excuse me. The, the runway utilization for our runway ends, the larger the box, meaning the more utilization that runway got, as well as the color coding, the lighter boxes represent west flow runways, the darker boxes represent east flow runways. As you can see, much more use of west flow runways than east flow. And I will explain that on the next page, on page 6, where we have our graph showing the wind occurrences during IFQ. So again, this graph is familiar to all of you. This shows the areas of wind occurrences during the entire IFQ period. And it is pretty evident that we saw predominantly westerly winds during IFQ. As a result, the majority of the operations occurred in west flow, and that going back is reflected in the runways being used, predominantly west flow runways, 28 center predominantly for arrivals, 28 right predominantly for departures. Page 7, we discuss the issue of wide body aircraft. Some of the aircraft that operate out of O'Hare require long runways, and not all of our runways are the same. We have 3, at this point, we have 3 what we consider to be long runways at O'Hare. Runway 10 left, 28 right at 13,000 feet, that being our longest runway. Runway 10 center, 28 center, 10,800 feet. And we just, again, recently commissioned runway 9 center, 27 center at 11,245 feet. Runway 9 center, 27 center, because it was just commissioned, was not part of IFQ and was not part of the scheduled runway configurations, and therefore not available for operations during IFQ. However, runways 10 left, 28 right, and runways 10 center, 28 center were available for aircraft if they had a size or weight consideration that required a longer runway than would be available based on the scheduled week. And so in the diagram on the bottom, you'll see the purple runways. Those are all runways below less than 10,000 feet, 4 left, 2 right. The old 9 right, 27 left, which is now closed and will be extended. That extension will bring it over 11,000 feet, and runway 4 right, 2 left. So those runways are what we call our shorter runways, and there are certain conditions where aircraft may not be able to use that short of a runway and will require a longer runway. During IFQ, however, we did see 10% of what we refer to as the wide body, those large aircraft that typically may require a longer runway, they were still able to utilize those short runways during IFQ. So 10% of wide bodies still able to utilize those runways, even though they're less than 10,000 feet. Page 8 is our overall summary of the IFQ program. Basically, this is what we would show on a weekly basis on the CDA's website with our weekly reports during IFQ. Again, just overview of the start and stop times of flight quiet mode, 10:32 p.m. to 6:16 a.m. 47% of the operations being able to operate on the designated runways. Average operations were 82 a night. We had an average of 7 hours and 44 minutes in flight quiet mode, which is just shy of that full 9 hours of nighttime. And we have listed a number of reasons why we weren't always able to utilize the designated runways as planned. The reports starting on page 9 show the start and stop times for flight quiet mode of every night during the 48-week period of IFQ, as well as the percentage of operations that occurred on the primary and secondary configurations. So you can go through and see all the start and stop times of every single night during IFQ. We did have one night where flight quiet mode was unable to start because we had a very significant winter snow event that required the airport being unable to utilize the runways as planned. We also had a couple of nights where the source of radar data that the CDA receives that we utilize to delineate the start and stop times of Fly Quiet. We were missing that data for a couple nights, so unfortunately we don't have those nights. But the remainder of nights, you can see the average start and stop times for all of IFQ for the 48-week period ending January 31st, 2021. And then starting on page 16, we have the wind summaries for each of the 48 weeks for IFQ. So you can go through and see what the wind conditions were for each of the weeks for the full 48-week period. Page 20 is our overall runway use report for IFQ. Again, a familiar report that we use in our ANOMS reports showing the average utilization of the runways specifically for fly quiet mode during IFQ. And you can see for departures, 28 right in west flow, 45%. We also saw 28 center, 17%, 22 left with 11%, as well as 27 left being utilized. In the east flow, runways 4 left, 9 right, 10 left, 10 center, all being utilized for departures during IFQ. And that represents, it reflects, excuse me, the schedule of using runways other than those typical 28 right and 27 left. On the arrival side, you can see that dispersion again, 22 right arrivals, 11%, 4 right, 5%, excuse me, and then 10% on 28 right, 36% on 28 center, and 17% on 27 left. We also saw some use on 9 right, 1%, 7% on 10 left, and 14% on 10 center. Page 21 starts the report of all of the airlines that operated during flight quiet mode during the IFQ period, as well as the number of arrivals and departures for each airline. As you can see at the top, United and American by far are the most carriers that operated during IFQ during the 48-week period, as well as coming in third, FedEx. But American and United, again, by far, those two carriers representing the bulk of operations during the nighttime hours of IFQ. Page 23, familiar report again is our fleet mix, this time just for flight quiet mode during the IFQ period. As you recall, in the March ANOMS report, I highlighted the regional aircraft was just over 50% for March. As you can see for IFQ during flight quiet mode, it's only 11%. During the overnight hours, the narrow body aircraft represent the bulk of operations at 47.8% and wide body at 39.6%. And that is the report of the interim flight quiet program. Again, we will be talking more about this data as well as the future flight quiet program in the flight quiet committee. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I highly recommend you attend those meetings.
Thank you, Ryan. We have 2 questions. First, Frank, and then Evan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ryan, can you bring up the page on your noise monitor reports that shows the results for monitor number 42?
I'm sorry, you want me to go back to the March ANOMS report?
Yes, please. If you can. Do you have it for monitor 42? It's a general question, but first I want to verify that monitor 42 is located in the 41st ward, correct?
Yes, Frank, it's right next to Ebinger Elementary School on
Okay.
Pratt.
Okay, good. Thank you. I noticed that with your parameters, the color coding, red and black and green, Green indicates that there's been no increase. Red indicates there was an increase. And yet for monitor 42, there was an overall increase in noise, yet the color is still green. Could you correct that if it's a mistake, or explain why the color coding didn't follow the actual noise levels?
Ryan, will you switch reports and bring that up on the screen?
Sure.
Maximize.
So we're talking about 42.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So, Mr. Ickes, again, the comparison is between the current month, meaning March of 2021, versus the previous month, or I'm sorry, the previous same month of the previous year, March 2020. And as you can see, there was a decrease of a decibel or more of 56.9 versus 54.3.
Well,
Yes, Frank, that's important because we're comparing to the column on the right instead of the column on the left.
The reason we do that is because month to month, there's more comparison of airlines operation levels and seasonal conditions versus comparing the previous month. So March, spring break operation levels are higher. It's better to compare noise operation levels as well as noise levels to the same month of the previous year versus February, because typically February tends to be our lowest month for operations. And so that's the kind of the reason why we do that comparison.
Does that help?
Could you zoom that out, please, so we could see the actual header columns, the top and the left side? Okay, good. If you see for 42, it looks like 52, 53, 54, 53, and so on. And here we're at 54, which would be a little increase, and it's still green. And then up above for Wooddale, noise monitor 29, you have 64s all the way across, and it went up to 67, and you've got that at red.
Correct, Frank. As I said, for the 67.2 shown in red, we're comparing it to the number on the right. We are not comparing it to the number on the left.
I think it would be good, Mr. Ickes, if maybe we spend some time with you on this report and help answer your questions and make sure you understand how the report's laid out and what you're looking at.
Okay,
We're happy to make time to do that.
I would like that explained, because my second question to you, Mr. Anderson, for the noise complaints.
Frank, one question at a time. Let Evan have his question.
Well, this one is connected.
Frank, we can't have conversation.
Okay, Mr. Chair, this is not a conversation. This is a direct, go ahead.
Evan?
Thank you. I'd like to go back to page 7, Ryan.
Which report, Evan?
The last flag quiet report.
Okay.
You said page 7?
Yeah, this is a discussion of the shorter runways and wide body aircraft.
Yeah.
I'm good. And for those of us who weren't at the last tech meeting, I kind of object to the characterization, or rather, it's not copacetic with what we learned at tech. We implied that 10% of the wide body could use the shorter runways, whereas in reality, what we discussed at tech, when we're in crosswind configurations, we can actually have all of the aircraft of the airport utilize the shorter crosswind runways, correct?
Not exactly, no. What we clarified in tech, we discussed that the vast majority of operations can use those runways. However, not all aircraft may be able to use those runways. We did look at a day in March where we were utilizing the crosswinds for a significant period during the day. However, there were still cancellations on that day based on aircraft that weren't able to use those runways. during
Okay,
the-
fair enough. But when we see this 10% of wide body aircraft, that isn't the constraint, right? It's not that there's not a physical constraint here.
I'm not sure I'm understanding.
So when we see this 10%, this appears to me like only 10% of the wide body aircraft can use those runways.
No,
but that's not an absolute.
No,
Evan, let's clarify. 10% did use them. That doesn't
Right.
mean that 10% can only use them.
So we can increase that number. That number can go higher, likely much higher. Correct?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, okay. All right. That's all I needed.
All right, thanks, Evan. Frank, your second question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is for Mr. Anderson. On the noise complaints, I've noticed that the 41st Ward noise complaints tripled in the last period that you indicated. If you could bring that up for reference, please.
So we went from 18 verifiable households to 41 in March of 2021.
Right, that's almost, it's over double. It's more than twice.
That is correct.
Has anything happened that might have caused those noise increases?
Sure.
Noise complaints, and is there any follow-up on these noise complaints from CDA or anyone else to figure out why so many people are complaining, and if there's a problem, to provide a remedy?
Well, to answer your first question, as I went through the report, I mentioned the real correlation to why we saw an increase in the number of complaints in the month of March was the increase in operation levels that we saw in the month of March. So we saw more operation levels in March, and as a result, as expected, we saw more noise complaints. For your second question, no, there is no direct follow-up with any of the complaints that are made through the official aircraft noise complaint website. As far as providing a remedy, we are discussing that in depth at the Flight Quiet Committee meeting, as well as technical committee meetings, as the various things that we can do to help alleviate some of the noise impacts in the surrounding communities.
So is it serving a purpose for the people to go through the effort to submit a noise complaint?
Well, I think that's, something this commission, has said, yes, it is worthwhile to track verifiable households making complaints and see if there's any things that maybe pop up, especially geographically, that we would not anticipate, or areas that might experience new noise that might need to be further addressed or outreach. So yes, I think there is a lot of value of tracking noise complaints, reporting them to this commission, as well as to representatives of this commission if they see their communities with large increases in noise, to learn more about, attending these meetings, learning why that is, and reporting back to their constituents as to what is going on at the airport and why they may be experiencing more operations over their homes.
If I can add something, what we do in Niles is that I find out who the complainant is, if I can, because if they're making a complaint through the telephone, they're probably making a complaint directly to the village. And what I do is find out who the person is, and I have a conversation with them. Sometimes they may take an hour to explain to them what's going on at a particular time. But I think it's important that the individual committee members understand that they should seek out who the complainants are and try to work with them so that they can get their input and bring it back to the committee so that we can work on it.
And this also serves, a lot of the discussions and in tech committee as well as flight quiet committee as the committee works on, making recommendations or developing flight quiet program. This data helps to inform those discussions and decisions.
Okay, Frank. Any
That's
other,
it. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions? If not, we can move on to report from the ONCC chair. I don't have much to report other than the fact that I'm really happy to say that Karen Robles was appointed Flight Quiet Committee Chair at the Executive Board meeting and was unanimously approved by the members. Congratulations, Karen. I know she will lead us to a successful Flight Quiet 21 runway rotation plan. Karen, I have all the confidence in the world. You're going to do just fine.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe. Just taking it across the finish line. You did most of the work, so.
No, I got to tell you this. I just sat there and let it fly because the committee did the work. I just made sure that we didn't start talking about the TV show that was on the night before. That's all I did. The committee did all the work, and you're going to find that to be the case. All right. Next report we have is Karen. Is there anything you want to say to us before we move on?
Sure, I'll give a brief update. The Fly Quiet Committee met on Thursday, April 22nd via Zoom. As you just heard, the Fly Quiet Committee was also given a final summary of the Interim Fly Quiet program, which ran from November 2019 through the last week of January 2021, with that noted construction pause during summer 2020. The 48-week program had an average start time of 10:32 p.m. and stop time of 6:16 a.m. And our average time in fly quiet mode was approximately 7 hours and 44 minutes with 47% designated runway usage. The remainder of our meeting focused on suggested modifications to alternatives B and H, and we're continuing to focus on reviewing and revising these two alternatives. I do want to encourage all ONCC members to really start engaging in the Fly Quiet materials and talking to Fly Quiet Committee members to understand, because I think as Joe and I have mentioned, we are coming towards hopefully the conclusion of our process, and it is going to be coming to a full ONCC commission vote. And I just encourage all of you to engage and learn what's being discussed and understand how that might impact your communities, so that when it is time for a full commission vote, everyone's knowledgeable and prepared to take that vote. With that being said, our next Fly Quiet meeting will be held on May 27th at 9:30 a.m. via Zoom. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Karen. Technical Committee, Evan Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The ONCC Technical Committee met on April 20th via Zoom. The CDA reported on the 2020 annual runway usage for all hours. The major takeaway was that the optimum use is east-west runways. However, crosswind runways are used as much as 250 times per year in conjunction with the east-west runways. Wind conditions dictate use. With proper outreach to the airlines, the crosswind runways could be utilized more in the future Fly Quiet program. That's what I was alluding to during the Fly Quiet discussion. For COVID-19 impacts, passenger operations continue to increase. O'Hare operations are still at a reduced 42%. The FAA projects O'Hare could be back to 2019 operations within 5 to 6 years. On permanent noise monitors, CDA reported that they're still obtaining permits for Chicago noise monitors, and we'll have more progress to report next month. The CDA reviewed updated manuals and fact sheets to include runway 9C, 27C on all graphics. The GRE procedure manual was part of the presentation, as was the new airfield graphic to indicate the new runway and changes to taxiways. CDA continued discussion on the Fly Quiet recognition program to review possible metrics to make recognition for more meaningful airlines. All manuals and reports are now available on the ONCC website. And now, as a point of privilege, I would like to take a moment to thank Chair Jurasek. I can honestly say that without her, I would not be sitting here. She hired the former village manager for Bensonville for Mount Prospect, which opened up the position for me. So I do appreciate that. Thank you so much, Mayor Jurasek. In all seriousness, though, you did lead by consensus this organization, which is incredibly difficult with a group this large. I thank you for your leadership. On behalf of all of us sitting here, we wish you the best of luck in the next chapter of your life. I want to welcome Chairman Annunzio. You've got a lot of work ahead of you, so we're here to work with you. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank you, Evan. Next on the agenda is report from the Executive Director, Jeanette.
Thank you. I'd like to report the expenses for the month of April in the amount of $16,617.41. There are no questions. I'd ask for a motion in a second.
I'll move to accept.
Sheila Park, second.
Thank you. Roll call. Village of Addison,
Yes.
Arlington Heights,
Yes.
Bentonville,
Yes.
City of Chicago,
Yes.
City of Chicago 36th Ward,
Yes.
38th Ward,
Yes.
39th Ward,
Yes.
40th Ward,
Yes.
41st,
Yes.
DuPage County, Elmhurst,
Yes.
Elmwood Park,
Yes.
Franklin Park,
Yes.
Glenview,
Yes.
Hanover Park,
Yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes.
Lincolnwood,
Yes.
on Prospect,
Yes.
Niles,
Yes.
Norwich,
Yes.
Northlake,
Yes.
Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes.
River Forest, River Grove,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yes.
Rosemont,
Yes.
Schaumburg,
Yes.
Schiller Park,
Yes.
South Barrington,
Yes.
St. Charles, Stone Park, Wooddale,
Yes.
School District 7,
Yes.
48,
Yes.
64,
Yes.
81,
Yes.
86,
Yes.
89,
Yes.
100,
Yes.
207, 214,
Yes.
234,
Yes.
and 401. Thank you. The next ONCC meeting will be held June 11th at 8 a.m. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Jeanette. Now we have comments from the ONCC members. Any comments?
I have something, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I want to congratulate the new board. Joe, I've known for at least, I think, 14 years now. I've been on the ONCC. I'd like everyone to know that he is our senior member and has been a member of this organization since about the inception. Very happy to see Karen come aboard as the vice. She's one of our people of the future. She's very well educated as to airports, runs a little one herself. And of course, my good friend, Dr. Ray, who's a fellow cruiser and a good friend also, and been here since I've been here. I want to just congratulate all of you as a member of the executive board.
Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else? If not, for comments to the audience now, the general public, any comments?
Yes, Joe, Dan Dwyer.
Oh, yes, Dan.
It's an honor to be your first public comment. It's one of the perks of the job, I guess. I'd like to make a comment on the IFQ report. I hope everyone will take the time to review the IFQ report prepared by CDA. The wind summary, I believe, is a key consideration in your decision on a permanent fly quiet. As demonstrated in IFQ period 1, which was pre-pandemic demand levels, nearly 80% of the operations on designated runways occurred in west flow. Also, over 50% of the operations on designated runways utilized the secondary configuration, not the preferred primary configuration. What I'd ask the committee to request is running any final plan through a real-world wind scenario like IFQ. wind was demonstrated in IFQ as a key factor in creating an imbalance towards west flow and lower utilization of the primary configurations. Therefore, wind conditions that would create an imbalance should be considered by the ONCC for a final plan to be predictable and equitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? All right.
I would like to speak. Sorry, couldn't get unmuted. My name is Josie Howard Rubin. I'm a resident of Park Ridge. Since I've been home working, since the pandemic began, I've had my office window looking south towards the Kennedy Expressway. And with the new runway, as it has been started to be more widely used since March, sorry, stop. I am telling you that the level, the altitude of the planes is extraordinarily low coming over Southwest Park Ridge. And something needs to be done about it. Literally, I'm used to matchbox size planes, but I'm seeing automobile size planes coming down over my neighbors' homes and over Southwest Park and Park Ridge, and it is an untenable situation.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
My name is Steve Gatzel. I'm also from Park Ridge. I agree with everything the second person just said. And the planes are literally 1,500 feet above my house. They're 747s and they're every minute of the day, and it's ridiculous.
Okay. Thank you.
So what does this committee do? This is my first time at this committee.
Well, come to a couple of committee meetings and then you'll begin to see what we do. And having said that, and I mean this, we all understand there's noise. And this is just a general statement I'm going to make, and I'm not going to do this again. We all understand there's noise out there. What we need are solutions. What we need are plans, like some of you are suggesting. If you have an idea that can be used to help mitigate noise, I'd be more than happy to entertain it. Because this committee hasn't been formed just so we can complain. This committee was put together so we can do. And having said that, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Chair, excuse me.
Ernie.
Joe?
Yeah.
It's Ernie from Park Ridge. I know this may be out of order, but if you would give me a moment.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond, since those two last public comments came from residents of Park Ridge. I just wanted to remind those two residents that as the representative from Park Ridge and also representing the interests of the Northeast Quadrant, as you do, Mr. Chair, being from Niles, that I'd welcome those two residents to reach out to me. And if they need contact information, that's as simple as contacting the city.
Ernie, thank you. That's exactly the response I was looking for from one of our members. Thank you.
I always try to please, Joe. You know that.
You do. And that's why I appreciate you're on the committee. All right. Having said that, now maybe I have a motion and a second to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that, John from Hanover Park.
Okay. Call the roll.
Addison,
Yes.
Arlington Heights,
Yes.
Hensonville,
Yes.
City of Chicago,
Yes.
City of Chicago 36th Ward,
Yes.
38th Ward,
Yes.
39,
Yes.
40,
Yes.
41,
Yes.
Elmhurst, Elmwood Park,
Yes.
Franklin Park, Glenview,
Yes, for
Yeah.
Hanover Park,
Yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes.
Lincolnwood,
Yes.
Mount Prospect,
Yeah.
Niles,
Yes.
Norwich,
Yes.
Northlake,
Yes.
Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes.
River Grove,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yes.
Rosemont,
Yes.
Schaumburg,
Yes.
Schiller Park,
Yes.
South Barrington,
Yes.
St. Charles, Stone Park, Wooddale, School District 7,
Yes.
48,
Yes.
64,
Yes.
81,
Yes.
86,
Yes.
89,
Yes.
100,
Yes.
207, 214,
Yes.
234,
Yes.
and 401. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you, everyone. That adjourns the meeting. See you next month.
Well done, Joe.
Take care, Joe.
Thanks. Good luck, Arlene.
Thank you.